My boyfriend broke up with me because I was unfaithful with his brother, but I still love him and want him back. I need advice. I've always known that Derek, my boyfriend of 2 years, was the one I was meant to possess entirely. From the moment we met, I made it my mission to weave myself into every single fiber of his existence because that's what real, high-level commitment looks like. I didn't just want to be the girl he came home to, I wanted to be the air he breathed and the shadow that never left his side. To me, loving someone means owning their past, their present, and especially their roots, because you can't truly have the fruit without claiming the entire tree. I spent those 2 years perfecting our life together, managing his schedules, and making sure he knew that I was the only person who could ever truly understand the complexities of his soul. Lately, I started feeling like there was a tiny, invisible gap in our connection that I just couldn't ignore. It wasn't that our love was fading, but rather that I needed to deepen my immersion into his family line to ensure we were bonded by more than just words. That's when I started spending an incredible amount of time with Finn, Derek's brother, because he carries the same genetic blueprint as my Derek. In my mind, it wasn't about a cheating in the way small-minded people describe it, it was a strategic move to surround Derek with my presence from every possible angle. If I could conquer the brothers' loyalty and affection, I would essentially be twice as much a part of Derek's life as I was before. There is this beautiful photo from last Thanksgiving that I keep on my nightstand, where I'm standing right between the two of them, my hands firmly touching both their shoulders. I look at it every single night before I go to bed, stroking Derek's face in the frame and feeling the power of having both brothers under my influence. It was such a perfect moment of domestic harmony, a visual proof that I had successfully integrated myself into the very core of their family dynamic. People might think it's obsessive, but they just don't understand the level of dedication required to keep a man like Derek truly secure. I was doing the heavy lifting for our future, ensuring that there was nowhere he could turn where he wouldn't find a piece of me waiting for him. Everything was going according to my grand design until last week when Derek decided to show up at the guest house while Finn and I were having a private bonding session. It was just one of those sequences of bad luck where timing ruins a perfectly logical plan, and suddenly Derek was standing there looking absolutely devastated. I didn't panic because I knew that once I explained the higher purpose behind my actions, he would eventually see the brilliance of it. I looked him right in the eyes and told him, "It's all for you, Derek. Now we're truly one blood, and our connection is unbreakable." I expected a moment of realization, a breakthrough where he'd thank me for going to such lengths to solidify our union. Instead of the gratitude I deserved, Derek had a complete emotional breakdown and started acting like I had committed some kind of ultimate sin. He kicked me out of the guest house and blocked me on every single platform before I could even finish explaining the spiritual mathematics of the situation. It was so incredibly ungrateful and dramatic, especially considering I was the one who had spent months cultivating this family bridge just to be closer to him. He's clearly just overwhelmed by the sheer scale of my devotion, and his tiny ego can't handle a woman who is willing to do the impossible for her man. Now I'm stuck on the outside of my own territory, waiting for him to realize that Finn was never the destination, only the path back to Derek's heart. Main story comments. Anonymous user 1 says, "You didn't immerse yourself in his family, you blew it up by sleeping with his literal brother. That isn't a family slip, it's the ultimate betrayal and Derek is right to run as far as he can." OP's reply, "You clearly don't understand biological resonance. Since they share the exact same DNA, the energy I was interacting with was essentially Derek's. He should feel honored that I love his essence so much that I seek it out in every form it takes." Anonymous user 2 says, "The way you talk about possessing him and stroking a photo every night is terrifying. This isn't love, it's predatory behavior, and Derek is lucky he caught you before you did something even worse." OP's reply, "It's called high-level commitment, something a casual dater like you wouldn't understand. I am the manager of our relationship, and management requires a certain level of intensity that average people mistake for predatory." Update 1. It's been 3 days since my last update, and the silence from Derek's side is becoming absolutely insulting. I've decided that if Derek is going to act like a petulant child, I have no choice but to use the bridge I worked so hard to build in the first place. I spent all morning calling Finn, Derek's brother, until he finally picked up the phone, sounding like he had been hiding in a bunker. I told him very clearly that he needs to fix this little temper tantrum Derek is having because he was an active participant in our immersion sessions. Since we had our special moment together, Finn owes it to our future family to explain to Derek that I am the only woman who can truly handle their family's energy. Finn sounded absolutely terrified on the line, stammering about how wrong everything was and trying to hang up on me like a coward. I had to remind him very firmly that I have a collection of saved messages from him that would make his own mother stop speaking to him forever. It's not that I want to hurt Finn, but I have to manage the situation, and if he won't be my advocate willingly, he'll do it out of necessity. I explained to him that Derek belongs with me, and it is Finn's responsibility to pave the way for my triumphant return to the house. I am only doing this because I am the only person capable of truly managing Derek's world, and I won't let a little misunderstanding get in the way of our destiny. The fact that I even have to go through Finn is a testament to how much Derek has lost his way without my constant guidance. If I have to burn the very bridge I used to get to him just to make him listen, then that's exactly what I will do because the end justifies the means. Derek needs to realize that my love is a force of nature, and you don't just block a hurricane when it's trying to keep you warm. I spent the rest of the afternoon drafting a script for Finn to read to Derek, making sure every word highlights my loyalty and my unique vision for our lives. I am the architect of this relationship, and I will not let the construction workers ruin my masterpiece just because they got a little bit of dust in their eyes. Update 1 comments. Anonymous user 1 says, "You are literally blackmailing his brother to try and force a reconciliation. Finn needs to go to the police and get a restraining order against you immediately before you escalate this any further." OP's reply, "Please, Finn isn't going to the police because he knows he's mine too, in a way. We have a connection now that transcends legal and nonsense, and he's just as involved in this story as I am." Anonymous user 2 says, "Managing his world? You're managing to get a restraining order and a lifetime ban from their family functions. This isn't a legal challenge, it's a sign that you are dangerously delusional." OP's reply, "A restraining order is just a legal challenge designed to test how far I'm willing to go for my love. True devotion doesn't care about pieces of paper signed by a judge who doesn't know our hearts." Update 2. It's been a week since my last update, and since Finn failed to deliver the results I demanded, I had to take matters into my own hands. I decided to show up at their parents' house during their traditional Sunday brunch, which I know is a sacred time for them. I didn't even bother knocking because, in my mind, I'm practically a daughter-in-law already, so I have every right to enter my own future home. I walked right into the dining room and placed the framed photo of the three of us, the one where I'm touching both their shoulders, right in the center of the table. I wanted them to see the visual representation of the unity I was trying to create, a reminder that we are all part of the same circle. Derek's face went completely pale the moment he saw me, and for a second, I thought he was finally going to admit how much he missed my presence. He didn't scream or cause a scene, which I took as a sign of respect, but then he just whispered, "Please leave," in this cold, empty voice. I stood my ground and told him that I would only leave when he looked me in the eyes and admitted that he still missed the way I used to manage his every move. His mother started crying into her napkin, which I found incredibly dramatic and unnecessary, considering I was the one who was being excluded from the meal. I am clearly the victim here, the one person trying to keep the family circle closed while they all join forces to push me out into the cold. When they tried to escort me to the door, I turned to Derek and gave him one last chance to do the right thing and unblock me. I told him quite clearly that if he didn't restore my access to his life, I would have no choice but to tell everyone that Finn was the one who seduced me. I'll make sure the whole world believes Finn did it specifically to get back at Derek for some childhood grudge, ruining both their reputations in one go. It's not blackmail, it's just providing him with the proper incentive to realize that our love is the only thing that matters. I left them all staring at the photo on the table, confident that my message had finally been received with the weight it deserved. Update 2 comments. Anonymous user 1 says, "You crashed a family brunch and threatened to lie about a seduction to ruin a brotherly bond? You have zero boundaries and even less shame. Those poor people must be living in a literal horror movie with you as the villain." OP's reply, "Boundaries are just walls built by people who don't have soul ties as deep as mine. When you are destined to be with someone, there is no such thing as a trespassing on their life." Anonymous user 2 says, "Blackmailing Derek by threatening to destroy his brother's reputation is the fastest way to make him hate you forever. How do you not see that your incentives are just acts of war against the man you claim to love?" OP's reply, "It's not an act of war, it's an act of preservation. Sometimes you have to threaten the things a man loves just to make him realize that you are the only thing he needs." Update 3. It's been 10 days since my last update, and my incentive have finally worked, although the execution was a bit different than I had envisioned. Derek finally called me, though he used Finn's phone to do it, which I thought was a nice nod to the immersion I had initiated. He sounded incredibly cold, almost like a stranger reading from a script, and told me to meet him at a public park to finally settle things once and for all. I spent 3 hours getting ready, wearing the exact same dress I had on in the Thanksgiving photo to trigger his nostalgia. I was convinced that this was the moment he would break down, apologize for his dramatic behavior, and beg me to come back and manage his life again. When I arrived at the park, my heart sank because it wasn't just Derek waiting for me on the bench. Finn was there, and so were both of their parents. They sat me down on a picnic table like I was some kind of project or a problem that needed to be solved by a committee. It was incredibly condescending, especially since I'm the one with the master's degree in their family dynamics, and they were all acting like they knew better than me. They told me, with these fake sympathetic faces, that they had all made a collective decision to move to a different city together. They've already sold the house, Derek has requested a transfer, and they've even scrubbed their social media presence to make sure I can't follow them. They refused to give me the new address or even the name of the state they were moving to, claiming that my devotion had become a safety concern. I was absolutely floored by the audacity of it. They were literally dismantling their entire lives just to avoid the high-level commitment I was offering. I told them they were being ungrateful parasites, feeding off my energy for years only to discard me when I tried to make our bond permanent. I am the heart of that group, the one who kept them all organized and focused, and now they were trying to transplant the heart out of the body. They just stood up and walked away as a unit, leaving me alone in the park with nothing but my dress and my memories. Update 3 comments. Anonymous user 1 says, "This is the most satisfying." Update 3. OP's reply, "How dare you call me a parasite when I am clearly the lifeblood of that family. They are going to wither away without my management, and they'll be begging for my energy within 6 months." Anonymous user 2 says, "So your circle literally vanished into thin air to get away from you. What are you going to do now that you have no one left to monitor, control, or immerse yourself in?" OP's reply, "You clearly don't understand how blood works. I'll find them eventually. You can't hide Derek's DNA from me forever. I have resources and I have time, and I will reclaim what belongs to me." Update 4. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and the reality of my situation has finally started to settle in, though not in the way I expected. In a final, desperate attempt to protect my place in Derek's life, I decided to send an anonymous email to the senior partners at Derek's firm. I detailed Finn's unstable behavior and suggested that Derek was the only one holding the family together, hoping the firm would see Derek as the stable hero who needed a promotion and a reason to stay in the city with me. I thought that by ruining Finn's professional reputation, I would force Derek to lean on me for emotional support and finally see that I was his only true ally in a world of chaos. My plan backfired with a level of cruelty that I still can't quite wrap my head around. The firm didn't just ignore the email, they used their IT department to track the IP address directly back to my apartment. Derek didn't come running to me for support. Instead, he filed a massive, coordinated report with my own employer, detailing my unethical conduct and harassment. Within 48 hours, I was called into a meeting and fired from the job I had worked so hard to maintain, all because Derek couldn't appreciate the lengths I went to for his career. My obsession with being the center of their family has turned me into a pariah in my own life, and I've lost the very platform I used to manage the world. I am currently sitting in my empty apartment, surrounded by boxes I haven't had the energy to unpack, looking at that Thanksgiving photo one last time. I took a pair of scissors and finally cut Finn out of the image today, hoping it would make the picture feel right again, but it just looks jagged and broken. Derek is gone, the family is gone, and even my own professional identity has been stripped away by the very person I tried to own. The circle is finally closed, just like I always wanted, but I'm standing on the outside looking through the glass at a life that no longer has a place for me. There is no bridge left to burn, no brother to use as a path, and for the first time in my life, I have absolutely nothing left to manage.